Well, it's my birthday this week, and so I thought I would make a special dinner tonight, and decided to do something Italian, which today means I had to take a special trip to the north end of Boston, where the Italian section is, to help get my hands on some ingredients that are often not so easy to find. Tonight I'm going to make a Ragu Bolognese over some fresh pasta. So to get started with a Bolognese, it will take a couple hours to simmer. I'm going to start by chopping up the vegetables that go into it. You're going to need a carrot. Going to have sort of an even amount of carrot and celery, usually about a half a cup. And then we also are going to need, with that, a whole onion. You need about a cup of chopped onion altogether. And then my special trip today yielded me some homemade pancetta. So this is very critical part of the dish, because this is a lot of where the flavor and saltiness comes from. I'm going to start by chopping my onion. And I'm going to chop up, again, about a half cup of carrots. And you want to try and do your best to get the size of your chop to be somewhat the same as your celery and your onion if you can. Now I'm going to get my nice piece of pancetta, and I'm going to cut about a half a cup finely sliced of this. This we will saute our onions and everything else in. This is a nice piece. You'll see it does have some hard edges on it, so I'm going to cut some of that off, because you're not going to want to have that hard pieces in your dish. Here I have my pan heating over a medium heat. I've got my nice copper French pan from Bourgeois out here, and once it feels hot inside of there, I'm going to go ahead and add a tablespoon of butter. I'm also going to put about a tablespoon of olive oil, and then I have my nice cut up pancetta, about a half cup here. Try and slice it as thinly as you can, and add that into the olive oil and butter in the pan. I'm going to give that all a nice stir. And what we want is the pancetta to start letting off some of its grease and flavor into the dish. And you want to cook this until the pancetta is starting to look a little like it's let off its heat and it's a little brown. Okay, once your pancetta is lightly browned, you can now add back your vegetables into the pot, and you want to brown these as well. What makes this sauce interesting to me is that it's not a tomato sauce. So when you're making ragu, it's really from a different region, and it tends to be milder in flavor. Usually use pork or veal or ground beef, and very little spices. I usually spice mine up a little bit by adding some fresh herbs. A lot of times you'll get that in Italy. And just kind of depends on the restaurant. There's no necessarily set way of making this dish. It's one of those things where recipes can vary slightly. So now you can see after a few minutes my vegetables are nicely browned, and most importantly you'll see that all of the water has cooked out of the vegetables, and that's really important. To get that down to where it's just some olive oil and the nice vegetables. And then what we're going to do is add our ground meats. Now, you want about 1 pound of ground beef, or ground pork, or you could use ground veal, or you can do a blend. What I've done is I've asked my butcher to do half and half ground beef and ground pork. And I have that beautiful ground meat right here. I'm going to add in here, and now we want to brown this in the pot with the rest of the onion. That'll take a few more minutes. Let it get a good spirit in there with the onions. And after a few minutes, your meat should be good and browned. And then what we want to do is you want to add in, normally I would put about 2 inches of finely chopped chicken livers in here. It's just enough to give it that little bit of interesting flavor. Even if people in the family don't love liver, chances are they'll never even know it's there, but it will give it a little bit of a zing. Unfortunately today I couldn't get chicken livers, so I'm going to substitute something else I have in the refrigerator, which is a truffle mousse, which is a pork and chicken liver pate. And I'm just going to add that in there, and that will do the same thing for me. That will give me that sort of extra flavor that needs to be in here. You'll notice the other interesting thing about this recipe is that it has no garlic. And when I think of Italian food, I always think of garlic. But in Bologna, Bolognese sauce does not typically have that in it. So I also, as I said before, I typically add back some herbs. So I got from my garden here some fresh sage and some fresh rosemary, and I'm going to add that in now as well. And then the final step is we want to add a cup of wine. Use a good wine, because this is certainly a part of your sauce. You want a dry white wine. This is about a cup of dry white wine I'm going to put in here. And you want that to cook down and almost dry out that liquid. So you let the meat sort of cook in and soak it in, and let it sit for a few minutes until all the liquid evaporates and that wine flavor is then in the sauce. Okay, you'll see now that all of the wine has evaporated from the meat mixture, and now we need to just finish it with just a little bit of nutmeg, about a half a teaspoon. And some salt and pepper as well. Give that all a good stir. Then you want to add, finally, 2 cups of beef broth. And I have some very nice bone broth that I've picked up from the meat section in my local grocery store. This is butcher's bone broth. It's organic. It should be good and flavorful and make the whole dish taste good. And now we're going to cover this and simmer it for 2 hours. Okay, our sauce has been simmering for 2 hours. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take the lid off and let it, while we're eating our appetizer, let some more of the water drain out of this so it gets just a little bit thicker. All right, our pasta sauce is all ready. It's time to cook the fresh pasta. So while I was in the Italian part of town today, I was able to get my hands on some fresh made spaghetti. There's nothing like fresh pasta. I've also grated some Parmigiano Reggiano. You can see just a little piece of the name there, just so you know you're getting the real thing. And I've grated some. I'm all ready to go. Over here, our sauce is all done. You can see we've reduced, pulled out a lot of the liquid, so it's a lot thicker now. And then typically what you find in Bolognese sauce is that they finish it with just a little cream, as much as a cup. I don't like as much, So I'm going to start with a little bit and stir it in. I'm going to do this right at the very end. What this does, it will thicken it up nicely. And really coat the pasta nicely. Looks pretty good right now. Got my water boiled. I'm going to drop the pasta in. If you have fresh pasta, it should only take about 5 minutes to heat it. Dropping my fresh pasta in the fresh water and the hot water. The pasta is all cooked and drained. I'm going to dump it into my Italian pasta bowl. Pasta always tastes better in an Italian bowl. And I'm going to bring that over to my sauce and scoop a little bit on there and toss it just to keep it from sticking. Got some pasta scooped into the bowl. And I'm going to go ahead and start tossing it to keep it from sticking together because it's fresh pasta. Okay, to serve, I'm just going to take the pasta, give it a little bit of a spin. Going to top a little extra sauce. Give it some of the good Parmesan cheese, Reggiano Parmigiano on top. And a little fresh pepper and you're ready to go. Bon appetit.